Welcome to the Sunday Night Hang. I'm your host, Ben. It is February, 21st already, 2021. And welcome, Steve from Boston.
Yo, what's up, dudes?
What's up, indeed?
What's up, indeed?
Another week, same old, it seems. I was looking back. We did a hangout, believe it or not, that was about 11 months ago. We did a Sunday night hang just when we're easing into what has become the new normal.
Normal.
Yeah. And you hypothesized a lot, and you're pretty damn close on, you're like, we're going to see this. I'm just like, yep. And that's why I love you, Steve, because you see it big picture.
I'm going 3 to 5 years. It's probably about right.
Yep. You may even call the whole Dave Mustaine to Gibson thing on that show as well. I would not.
Well, here's the thing about that, Ben. In fact, I went back and checked the date. The image of the prototype slipped into my Facebook DMs on November 1st, 2019.
Oh, wow.
That's a long time ago. And so, like, when you see a prototype that long ago, like, how accurate is it really? Right? It's like, who knows what changes are made in the following 15 months before the thing actually comes out. But sure. When I was looking at the purported, and it didn't come from anyone from Gibson. So that's why the guy who sent it to me is more of an artist who swears it came from inside and like swore me to secrecy. And that's why I didn't say anything about it until Gibson did an official announcement. Now, you haven't heard me say nary a word about it.
Nope.
I think Trogley did something about it. He had the same pick. So that pick has been going around.
Right.
But I had that pick November. I literally went back and looked November 1st, 2019. I think I went to Denver, and I think I showed it to Greg from Vola. And he was like, really? I'm like, that's what they're telling me. Right. So he hasn't said anything. He doesn't care. But yeah, it was at the time, the spec I was looking at the time, and it was raw and unfinished, right? It was a V. It had an Explorer neck. It had an ebony fretboard. It had those split diamond inlays.
Right. Okay.
And in crayon on the fretboard was written 25.5. So it's a 25.5-inch scale, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
And on the body, it was marked in crayon stop tail. So I'm assuming that's a stop tail piece.
Sure.
And that was it. Everything else was just sort of raw wood and a neck on top of a body and no electronics and no paint and nothing. That was pretty much it. Did have the Gibson logo on the headstock, though.
Interesting.
So that's what I saw. Who knows?
Right.
But that was so long ago. That's why what I said the other day. Let me guess what this is. The pick I saw is this, but who knows if it's real?
And I wasn't going to call him out in the chat, but I noticed Aljon went radio silent as soon as we started the whole conversation in the chat, as he will, and he's just like, well, I'm just hanging back. I will neither confirm nor deny a thing.
Well, that was the other thing. I was worried that if I said anything, everyone would just assume it would come from Aljon. Including people who work for Gibson. If I came out and did a video and Gibson and Aljon's like, I didn't tell him about it.
Right.
They might just assume he did, but he didn't. It didn't come from Aljon. Again, that's why I was hesitant to even talk about it, because unless it does come from Aljon, I can't really believe it. Right. Aljon has sent me stuff. I have pics of prototypes of Kramer's over the years. He's like, yeah, we're thinking about coming out with one of these. I'm like, cool. But I never talk about it or anything like that, But never anything about Gibson. It's not like, hey, this is our new Gibson line coming out. He didn't even tell me. I heard that Phil X was with Gibson from Phil X before I heard it from Aljon. He wasn't telling me,
Sure.
He's like, oh, we got big things coming down the pike, but he. The only thing he shares with me is like upcoming Kramer prototypes. And I did go to a showroom in Nashville, and I was there with Hunter from Agrofish, and we were walking around, and we had our phones, and we were like, how much of this can we photograph? He's like, not a lot. Like this whole section over here, like, and that wound up becoming that whole new, like, was it like the modern series and the original series? They already had prototypes out there.
Sure.
And they had the Tommy Thayer that hadn't come out yet. He had a prototype there. And they had a whole bunch of stuff that didn't come out. What was it? Can't think of the name of it. There's an Epiphone series. It's like Maze or Haze. I forget the name of it, but it was like a Mead. I forget the goddamn name. But anyway, they had those there. All were like every color, like one of every color. We were like, oh, that looks real cool. He's like, yeah, you cannot he goes, you can take a picture, but you cannot post it.
Right.
We're like, okay. So that happens a lot. So,
yeah,
but this wasn't.
Aaron says, was it the Muse?
That's what it was. It was the Muse.
Right.
We had every model and every color in the Muse series. And of course, that makes for a stunning photograph, right? Because you got all these all lined up, and they look all cool, and you're like, oh, wow, that looks amazing. He's like, yeah, can't really. You can take a picture, but don't post it up. I'm like, all right. So we didn't. We wait, So, yeah, no, the Mustaine thing, because it wasn't coming from Aljon, it was actually coming from overseas. A new wrinkle.
Henning?
No, Henning doesn't do Gibson or Epiphone. He's got a hair across his ass about them for some reason. He doesn't like them. But no. It was someone else. But yeah. And so it's like, how much weight do you really give it?
Right.
But then Trogley came out and used the same photo, and I was like, oh, maybe that is going to be it.
Right.
And then the more I've heard, I heard that is going to be it. We just don't know what the final one is going to look like. But what I saw was Explorer headstock, did say Gibson. It had split diamond inlays on an ebony fretboard. And it was marked in crayon 25.5. And it was just raw wood and had no knobs. Anyway, it was just empty. It was an empty shell. No pickups, no knobs, no anything. Like it was in the process of being finished.
Right.
But it was just sort of like the rough cut.
Well, I suppose we should hit the chat here. We got 86 people in here. Dang.
Wow.
Let's see in reverse order, because it'll skip ahead. We've got Andy Dion, Edwin Crane, Ted Fear, Mickey Settlemeyer, The Dogpa, XMG12, Zach Thong, Mike is himself, Quentin James, the one, the only, who had Henning on with him earlier today. Henning sent him a GoPro.
Ooh.
Because he needs more videos to laugh at. That's why he wants Quentin to keep making videos, apparently. And on with both of them was Aaron from Albus Band, who says the man with the finest hairline in YouTube.
Who's that?
Aaron from Albus Band.
Oh.
He's going back to our conversation in Nashville of 2019, I think, when we were talking about, I believe, someone you had seen on Facebook from a previous life, perhaps.
I think we got Flipside in here.
We got Flipside in here. Nice. William Da Silva, Fruitcake Tony, Music Therapy Laz, Roadie's Jam Cave, Dana, New Jersey, John, ZD351, Dwight Bailey. Let's see who else we got in here. Krenar is in here, the Albanian assassin himself.
Of course.
Of course. We've got Christian Hunter, Terry Himes, Janice Lala, Milt T, Driddle. Oh, hey, Driddle. And I did see, and I want to get the name of the channel right. Where is it? Lucas and Martin's Guitar Corner. New channel here on the YouTubes out of Austria. And two friends that check out each other's gear. and give critiques on it. And I'm not going to say Martin was best dressed in the previous video because he was wearing Canucks with Guitars hoodie, but I'm just saying he may have been. Addicted to Gear is here. Grumpy Mike Guitar, Alex Radford, Flying Pickle, little dinosaur himself, Dale Palmer, a lot of the usual suspects.
Sure.
Nice. If you have any questions for either of us, ask away, folks. Bent Tom, co-host of Canucks with Guitars. Quinn says, didn't Steve have some girl dump a soda all over him at NAMM?
Well, I didn't have her do it. I'm just going to go on record that it was not requested, but it did happen. I really don't know how it happened because my back was to it. It came from behind. The next thing I knew, I was covered in ice cubes and what I want to call Diet Coke. I believe it was Diet Coke. You can almost smell the difference.
You can feel the aspartame.
Well, actually, Diet Coke isn't as sticky as regular Coke. And you can actually feel the difference,
right?
As it like creates a suction vortex of fabric against your skin, of solid liquid that's been iced.
Yeah, of course. Michael Easter from Prince Edward Island out on the East Coast. He says, my brother-in-law and I have a watch party for Steve's live stream. We think he's the Jackie Gleason of the YouTube community.
To the moon.
I could see that. You can tell an entertaining yarn on occasion and bit of a song and dance man.
Can I tell you my favorite wrestling story really quickly? No.
Yes, please.
Were you on that stream? We were talking about that. When people were asking about, we were talking about wrestling. I don't know any wrestling. Everyone was talking about wrestling, and I'm like, I don't know. Oh, you know what it was? Was it Sean Pierce Johnson's birthday party? Was that it?
Yes.
Yeah. And I regaled everyone with my famous wrestling story. I don't have really any wrestling, but except I have one story, and you know it. You remember it, right? You remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, I think it was my birthday hangout.
Was it yours, or I thought it was Sean Pierce Johnson's?
It might have been. Well, I know we both appeared on each other's birthday stream, so it could have been
yours. It could have been yours.
And I imbibed on both. I don't judge.
Yeah. So as we'll make it quick. As I mentioned in that show, a friend of mine's older brother was wrestling at the time. This is like, let's say 1986, 1987, somewhere around there.
Right in the height of the first pop.
And he was, the only thing I knew about wrestling was I had friends in, like when I was a kid, like my cousin was into like Andre the Giant, George the Animal Steel. And when I was in high school, kids were into like Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Sure. And probably by 85, I got to think Hulk Hogan is already a thing, right?
Right.
But this is like a little bit after that. The only one I really know is like the dude from like, what was it? Like Lou Albano, right? Big Lou, right? I mean, you don't really know. I really did not know that world at all. And a friend of mine's older brother was wrestling under the name Irish Bobby O'Brien, which is funny because he was not Irish, but he was big. He was a tall dude. He was probably 6'4". He was
probably about as Irish as the Russians were Russian.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. He was like 6'4". Used to torture my friend. All right. I mean, there's no love lost between them as brothers. And we got into his house, and they lived on a kind of a hill. And so the house was on a bit of a hill. We go up the driveway, go into the basement, And then, you walk across the basement, and then there's the staircase up. And at the top of the stairs there's like a hallway, and the kitchen is like right there. You turn around and go back, and you walk through the dining room, or you walk down a hallway, and there's the staircase to go up to the second floor, right? All the staircases are on top of each other. And so we get up to the top of the stairs, and we open the door to go in, and in the kitchen across the room, in his breakfast nook, was his brother and the Iron Sheik. And the Iron Sheik was rolling a joint.
Of course he was.
And we walked past pretty quickly, but not without like... I remember walking past him going like, "Is that the Iron Sheik? Is that the Iron Sheik?" He's like, I don't fucking know. I hate him. I don't even... You can't stand him.
Right.
Like, I don't even know. I don't even care. And when we came back down, we went upstairs, and we came back down. They were gone, but you could tell his voice. You just knew what he looked like. You could not miss him. I was like, holy shit, it's the Iron Sheik.
Right.
I knew that dude.
Nice. Wow, we got an even 100 people watching. Nice. Awesome, folks. Let's see. Ted says, I couldn't tell if you were serious about the double neck PRS versus the SG. Good vibes. I predict some serious back problems with that double neck PRS.
Well, one of them is $14.99, and the other one is $14,999.
Yeah.
So that should tell you a lot right there.
It just means the budget's 10 SGs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could get one SG for $14.99, or I could get one PRS double neck for $14,999, which would be more than I think I have ever personally spent on a car. My wife has spent more. I don't think I've spent more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, can't say that I have. No. Hey, Scott Ferguson, welcome. I think I saw Adam Finkel in here earlier. Local boy. Vin's RJ asks, Steve, what's your favorite amp now that you own now or back in the day?
Favorite
amp.
I will say, just as an aside, I am a huge fan of the Katana series. All right, it's tough to give that answer because so many people just see them as more of like a practice amp or like a home amp. But I really do love those amps. But for a serious amp, the one I play the most is my Grandmeister 40, the Hughes and Kettner. I have the Black Spirit 200, and it's like 90% the same, but it's not quite the same. It's less expensive. It's a hell of a lot lighter, and it runs cold to the touch instead of extremely hot to the touch. So there are some benefits, but sound isn't one of them. I think the Grandmeister 40 still sounds a little better, even with all the flaws of weight and heat. It's still worth it to have the transformers and the in the tubes. Yeah. So I mainly go through, like, if I have someone over and I want to like crank up an amp, I go through the Grandmeister 40.
Nice.
And but when I'm practicing, or if I'm up here in the attic, I have a Katana 100 here, and I have another Katana 100 in the basement I use for practice.
Nice. And Music Therapy Les, thank you very much. He remembered the story. Someone's got to get this party, so take a hit or a shot, whatever floats you. Well, I don't have the mason jar here, so... Man, yeah, okay. Well, certain things we do this with certain guests. It's legal where Steve is, legal where I am, and
Oh yeah. Not just legal, encouraged.
Yes. Speaking of which, hello, Absolute Mayhem. Nice. Let's see. Ben Tom says, "Don't you want to cook an egg on that transformer bell?"
Oh my God, they they run hot. I think Phil McKnight might have attempted it. He might have. It didn't work. It wasn't quite hot enough to cook an egg. I think you got to get about 120, and he might have been off by about 5 degrees or 6 degrees. Right. He had it around, I think, 114. I think you got to get to about 120 to solidify an egg.
Oh, there's a good one. Mike Leister says, Steve, is it fair to expect a glut of used guitars on Reverb in 12 to 24 months when newbies tire of seeing the unused COVID guitar purchases? Something like that.
I think there will be. I think that every guitar company out there seems to be having a wonderful year, banner year. Yep. So there's a lot of not just used stock, but new stock, right? Used stock is way down. Guitar Center would normally carry about 50,000 items. They're down to about 21,000. They would normally carry 1,000 Strats. They're down to about 200. They normally carry like 500 PRSs. They're down to about 125. Stock has been decimated. Used stock has been decimated because people just aren't, they don't want to go into the store, or they just want to hold on to things. People tend, when there's times of trouble, they tend to stay pat, or if they're bored and they've got money, they tend to buy. So there's, I think, an accumulation right now, and not the sell-off will come once, the pandemic wears off and, things are, more back to normal. And
right.
I think you will see a glut, quite frankly. I think you'll see a glut of EVHs.
There's that was crazy here. Like, we locked down again, basically right at Christmas, and then reopened 2 weeks ago. And I finally saw what everyone was seeing in the US as far as like their Guitar Centers having lack of inventory, because our local on McQuaid, which is a good sized store, normally there's 2-3 empty spots on the guitar wall just from them not restocking throughout the day or whatever. There had to be a dozen empty spots. And when normally they would only stick 2 or 3 used pieces up there because they have a used section, it was over 20% used, what was up there.
Right.
And they even had like just cheap guitar stands right in the aisles filling with used gear. And a lot of it was demo models. I'm like, what are you talking about demo models? They're like, well, they're the ones that people pull down and they play. I'm like, dude, every single one of these is a demo model then, technically. So, but they were selling stuff like cheap. Was the big one, the 2019 Gibson Double Cut Juniors, when they came out. That was the hot item a couple of years ago. They're letting go as demos for 500 Canadian. So that's 350, 400 US.
Right. Nice water filtration. Nice water filtration device.
And branded, Steve.
Oh, I love it. It's adorbs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
No, we just don't need a repeat of the Valentine's episode where I did 18 hits during the course of the show.
Exactly. What do you got there? Little Northern Lights?
Yeah. That takes me back to my 20s, because that's all there was. Northern Lights.
1985 all over again.
Yeah. This is some OG Kush.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
A little OG Kush. Can't go wrong with that. Oh, they're playing our song.
Yes. Hey, Robot Master Switch. Let's see where. Oh, EMGs, active or the HZs for you? I'd say the HZs.
I kind of like the active. I know they make the HZ, the passive series, but I don't buy EMG to buy passive pickups. I buy EMG to get active pickups. There's plenty of passive makers out there. I really think EMG, they've made a really good active pickup. And, I know not a lot of people like them, but I do. And I'm a fan of EMG pickups. And so, I would go active, but that, but I've been using the EMG since the 80s.
Same. They've been in Dad's telly since the mid '80s. So
yeah, I had.
I always thought they sounded great. You know, no one ever complained about the tone of that guitar.
I'm trying to think now. I had an EMG, like single, double super strat with a Floyd Rose. Like I forget I'm sorry, not ESP. And then that came with EMGs in it. That was my first guitar with EMGs. And I didn't like the guitar. The neck was a little chunky, but I picked up a brand new like ST54 made in Japan Strat. It was like the whole new thing, like the ST62, ST57, ST54. So I picked up an ST54 and I pulled the pickups out of that and I threw a set of EMGs in there. Man, I used that for years with the EMGs. And then I wanted a little bit more original sound. And I think I pulled them out and I put in like, I want to say, Holy Grails. Who makes those? It's Lace Sensor Holy Grails, which I'm not crazy about Lace Sensor pickups. It's the one set that's actually pretty awesome is the Holy Grail set. Now they look like regular pickups. They don't have the, the flat top on them.
Right.
And they have a slightly hotter bridge pickup and they just sound really good. I really do like the Lace Sensor Holy Grails. And so that's what I use on there. But I put the EMGs in my 88, it's really an 87 serial number, 88 sale date, Ibanez RG560. Still have it, still have the pickups in it. That's an SASA 89. And I had an RG550 back then. Yellow, Desert Sun yellow. And that had a set of EMGs in it. And I freaking love that guitar. I really wish I had that one back. I had that signed by Paul Gilbert when he did a clinic at the store. I wound up selling the guitar a couple of years later when I needed money. And I remember the dude looking at it and going, "Oh, what the hell is this?" I'm like, "Oh, it's signed by Paul Gilbert." And he goes, "Does it rub off?" I'm like, "Probably." And he took a little napkin and he started rubbing. He goes, "Oh, it'll come right off. No worries." I'm sure he took that signature off like that night. I was like, probably should have kept that.
Yep. Hey, Metalhead Hippie. Good to see you. We got Jay celebrating here. AI Gaming. Somebody asked, have you ever been starstruck meeting a guitar hero?
Yeah. So a couple years ago, and I really regret this, like mega regret. A couple years ago, the guys from Roland go, "Hey, we're having a Roland artist party at this studio in Nashville. Are you coming to the Nashville show?" I go, "I am." They're like, yeah, come on down. We're having like free food and drink. I'm like, cool. Yeah, sure. All right. So I literally, it's going on as my plane is landing, but the airport's not that far away. So I get there, I check in the hotel, I get out, call an Uber. They pick me up. They take me over. They drop me off at this. It's like a studio, right? I think it's Love Shack Studios. I start walking in and they go, "Oh, do you know, what's your name?" Gave them my name. "Oh yeah, here you go. Here's like a bunch of swag, bunch of crap, and they're like, "Welcome, there's food and everything." I'm like, "Cool, great." I walk in, and to my right, as I walk in, is Rick Nielsen talking to Jeff Skunk Baxter. And I was like, huh, wow, a little weird. And then like Larry Carlton comes like walking out of the back. And I was like, wow. And the bass player for Cheap Trick, whose name is escaping me right now, he was there. He went with Rick.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm not going to bother them in a conversation. So I go in, I get some food. I go in the back, and you sort of work your way in. There's like a front area. And then you go back, and it's like a pretty narrow hallway that sort of wends its way through. and it's got all the studio rooms. And so you first walk in, there's like a main studio room, and then behind that, like another studio room, and then off to the side, like another studio room. And so people are pretty much dispersed. I see Tyler from Music Is Win is there. His wife is there. Joe Morgan from Morgan Amps is there. They see me. Davidas is there. Davi and Jill is there. They're like, hey. I'm like, hey. You know, and I'm embarrassing myself because I had forgot that we had seen each other at the prior NAMM show. I'm like, I know you. He goes, yeah, we just talked at NAMM. I'm like, right, of course. That's right. We talked at NAMM. And we were all talking, and all of a sudden Rick walked in. And he's like, hey, how's it going, boys? You know, and I'm like,
right.
Okay. Hey. Like, I mean, of the guy, me and Joe Morgan, we had stories about Cheap Trick, you know, getting their albums and listening. I mean, we're of that age.
Sure.
You know, we're practically the same age. But, you know, no one else. And I should have just said, oh, Rick, man, I'm a huge fan. I have been since Live at Budokan went crazy on American radio. I ran right out and bought that and Heaven Tonight, you know, pretty much in the same friggin' week. I just love that. God, I used to wear that album out. Like, I was such a huge Cheap Trick fan. But I clammed up. I was just like, hey. I couldn't get a word out. I just said, you know, you're gonna, you know, and then he was gone.
Mingle, yeah, power mingling. I see we got Dylan Washburn in here, so we got the whole Flipside crew in. Awesome. Sandra's here, and we all live in a yellow short bus. Got his live streaming situation figured out. Yeah, he tuned in a couple weeks ago when I had Ike and Dylan on here from Flipside, and Dylan set him right up. Dylan's a smart guy. There's Scott Brockway. Nice. Got a bunch of people in here. Nice. I can similar situation. I think it was the first NAMM show, because I'm thinking I went to Sweetwater before that. I got to meet Greg Koch, and that was cool. But it was like the first NAMM show. It was the first morning. Went to the Friedman booth because JJ's has the jams. Should say shout out to him as well in the chat here. He said we got to hit the Friedman booth. I'm like, all right, and we go, and there's Grover Jackson just standing there, and I'm just like, you know, can I get a photo? And he's like, sure. And first I'm holding my phone to take a photo, but it's shaking like crazy. So there's 3 of everybody in the photo, and then he saw that and he chuckled and he was taking a minute, okay, and then he goes, hang on, can we turn so we can get my guitars in the background? I'm like, okay. And right after that, Floyd Rose walks up and they start chatting. And I was just like, Jackson and Floyd Rose, like, chatting. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember walking, the first NAMM show I went, I was walking, it was at the end of the show. And they'd already booted a lot of people out, but I had a red badge. So they still want you out, but they don't boot you out. Not quite as angry because you have a booth, you know, if you have a red badge.
Right.
And I was walking one way and Michael Anthony came walking down, just like without security either. Just came walking right through. He was practically running. He was like, you know, I was like, yeah. You know, he had the smile. You know.
Oh, thanks, Metalhead Hippie. He says, because Steve's so sexy. Peace.
Well, thank you, Metalhead Hippie.
Into that, I think I shall do another bowl. Why not?
There you go.
Yep. Yeah, most shocking moment, Ted, has to be the Tone King with Eddie. Like, I don't think anything with that. That's the ultimate NAMM story. That's the ultimate gear nerd story.
I think so. I have run into Petrucci at the airport a couple of times and talked to him for a little bit. Like couldn't get near him at the NAMM show. He had a big line, and sure. You know, I wasn't waiting in that. But there he was at the airport, and you know, he walked up. I looked up and I go, he goes. People were coming up to him like crazy, and then I ran up to him. I said, I got to get a quick pic. He goes, no problem. He goes, you going back to New York? I go, Boston. He goes, understood.
Fair enough, JJ. He says, come on now. We were starstruck meeting Steve. Legendary moment. Well, I remember, see, technically, I met Steve independent of JJ because I remember I was at the Orange booth. I turned around because it was right after meeting Grover Jackson. I turned around and there's you and Mike Bradley in the Framus booth. And I saw you and it was like a dream sequence. I came running. I was probably skipping. Who are we kidding? Hey, and then there was a group hug. And you went, bro, you made it. You're finally one of us now.
Yeah, yeah.
Went,
one of us. One of us.
One of us. Hey, Grizzly Adams. Dang, lighter. Let's get rid of this wrap. That's
you gotta get yourself a torch lighter.
Yeah, I have one around here somewhere, but I have a tendency to lose stuff. Certain lifestyle choices. Yeah,
they're refillable and they last a long time. I got those little torches, and they're I use them outside because my wife managed to break the starter on the grill like within a week.
Of course,
she left the lid open and it like shorted out from rain. I'm the end of that, so I have to start the grill with a lighter, and I have a couple of they're windproof. That's what I love about them, and they just direct the flame right down. So you just throw the gas on. There you go. Just get your hand out of there. You're fine.
Nice. All right. I'm trying to match donation. I just saw Ted donated 666. That can only mean good. Absolute Mayhem asks, do you prefer standard headstock or reverse headstock for your 6 on the side?
I'm more of a standard guy. I have had a couple of reverse. I got a reverse right now that I like with that Vola. I really do like that blue Vola. What's interesting is I didn't like the black one as much. It was a little bright, and I swear to God, it's that they took out. I mean, obviously, wood is just a variable, but it's so much heavier. It's a kilogram heavier. It's 2.2 pounds.
That's a lot.
I mean, it's so noticeable. I mean, you pick those two guitars up, the weight difference is just incredible. And I really like the new one, even with the reverse headstock.
Right.
I
agree.
And I'll say this about it too. It really stays in tune pretty well. Once I, greased up the nut slots a little bit and made sure that they were, sort of as good as they were going to get. It's pretty much 99% in tune. It's pretty good.
JJ comments, Steve did hook us up with pizza and beer. We did, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was at the Framus when you were doing your interviews, unfortunately, which yours got corrupted, the one that we did together.
I know. I had a, you know what? I still have the banner. It's out in the garage.
Nice.
I'll bring it back out to NAMM.
It's okay. I brought my own. Yeah,
I brought my own banner.
Yeah. And Dylan says, I'll remember that Uber ride with Steve for the rest of my life. Haven't laughed that hard in a stretch.
What was the Uber ride? I forget that now.
I'm assuming you, Ike, and Dylan. Possibly others.
Oh, my God. Yeah. That woman. Ike is texting me halfway through it. I want my money back. God, she was rough. You get an Uber driver. What are they? 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9. She was like 3.9. That already was a red flag. Okay. Right. You can't even break the 4.0 mark. Okay. For Uber rating. I should have known right there. She's sitting across the street. We're waving to her. She was just the ditziest. Oh my God. Then she got like right on the highway. And my friends are going, why would she get on 5? I'm like, because she's an idiot. She like drove way up past it, spun it around, came back down the other side. We're like, ay. I'm like, oh, drop me off. Oh, she was so ditzy.
Nice. Let's see here. AI Gaming said something from Long and McQuaid. Okay. Maybe bought something. There we go. Ordered a Wolfgang standard exotic, the Zero Code.
Yeah. Zercote.
Yeah. Nice.
Zercote.
There's a 1-minute video of me holding and talking about one of those on the channel here. Nice. I didn't have a chance to plug it in. We were up at Cosmo Music in Toronto, Ontario. Oh, man, that'd be a little over a year ago. Last road trip that Absolute Mayhem here in the chat night we took up. We went up there to actually hit Solo Guitars, which is a guitar kit company, as well as they have a retail side of things. And Dave from Dave's World of Fun Stuff repair channel here on the YouTubes, he was brought in as their head repair guy. So we went up to meet him, and that was cool. And then we figured it's like it's our Sweetwater is Cosmo Music. So it's huge, and it's like 2 miles down the road on your way back to the highway. Hey, how could you not stop in? And it's just, walls and walls of guitars. And I'm just, here, take my phone. We got to talk about this thing. Cause I hadn't seen one before. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but this is like your dad's Wolfgang. Cause it looked kind of jazzy with the fancy woods. I was like,
yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's awesome.
I like my Wolfgang Standard. I'm pretty sure it's a short scale, but I could be wrong. That actually that might be a 25 and a. I think you said it could be a 25 and a half. I'd have to double check. They were doing them short scale for a while, but I think they dropped it. I'm not positive though. I'd have to double check.
Nice. And AI says he saw that video. Nice. Lucas asks, or actually that's Martin. Question to you guys. What was your favorite moment as a guitar player? A gig when you nailed something you were practicing for a long time?
That's a good question. I'm
going to say playing, because it's no one moment, but it's happened a few times where I think it's like third song into the first or maybe the second set of a night where, first of all, you're all tuned perfectly, so it just and everyone's tone is on point, and it's usually the third song after that second chorus, you go into, back into a verse, and you're just grooving, like firing on all cylinders, and I get goosebumps because all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there it is. There's that moment. We're not going to do it again tonight, guys. Relish the, and you look around, and those who notice, and you make eye contact with the bandmates. You're like, yeah, we're Van Halen right now. It doesn't matter what you're playing, but we're Van Halen. We're awesome.
Yeah. No, I had one gig like that where we were just really hitting it on all cylinders, but that band broke up pretty quickly. We did a ton of rehearsing and only like 2 gigs. And then, then that was the end of that. I went back to school and they went on to other stuff. And it was like a very short-lived band. I would say I really a couple of, as a guitar player, I tell you one that comes to mind that's kind of weird, but I tell you, that felt pretty good. Was my very first NAMM show, Chapman, who, I didn't know, but I knew about him on YouTube, and sort of like he was doing what I wanted to do. He was like this famous YouTuber and what I consider to be a pretty damn good guitar player, and just, he sort of had it together. And I was like, sort of looked up to him a little bit, as certainly as a YouTuber. Didn't know the dude as a person, but as a YouTuber and as a player. And I remember I went to the first NAMM show, and I was downstairs and I was walking through, and there was no one at his booth. And I said, I'll come back later. And walked around for a little bit, and I went back, and there he was. And he had a dude there that he was going over, and he was just telling everybody, grab a guitar, try it out. This is 2014, right? This is 7 years ago. This is his first, I think the first NAMM show they ever went to, and they're downstairs, right? Which means they're in the cheap seats, right? They're way down in the dungeon, as we say. And so I'm looking over the guitars, and he's talking to this guy, and this guy is just, how that goes at NAMM. This guy's chewing his hair off. And finally he finishes up and he's, playing the guitar, and he stands up and he goes, "Oh, why don't you take it?" And he hands it to me. And he goes off and he's talking to Rob still, right? Now he just still asking questions. What about this? What about that? Just 1,000 questions. And Rob is, totally patient, going through everything with them. And, you can tell he's really excited, for the thing. And so I sit there and I think I might have turned the gain up on the amp a little bit. And I started playing a little bit, and I could see Rob sort of looking over, he's talking to him, but I can see him sort of like doing that, as I'm playing. And finally he sort of ends up. And the funny thing is I was wearing a GoPro all day and I just turned it off. Oh. And I wish I had just left it running, because at the time he was he still is a pretty big YouTuber, but at the time he was like one of the only guitar player YouTubers out there.
Oh yeah.
He was, he pretty much owned that space. And the guy finally leaves and he walks right over to me and gets right up in my face. I'm sitting down, right, with the guitar. He gets right up in my face. He would have been right in the camera, because I had the camera on my chest. Right. I had it hung around my neck. And he comes up, he goes, "Holy shit, you're a fucking player." I was like, "You think so?" He goes, "Yeah, man. Jesus." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much, man. That's really." And I was so bummed that, because I was like, "Oh, what a quote," right?
Sure.
What a quote at the time to have and to put out there and to to promote myself. And I didn't have it. So, but that it made me feel good. It made me feel good, because it was sort of like on the spot, and I felt like it was heartfelt, Yep. And then the other thing that was not so much as a guitar player, but as a YouTuber, we were in Germany, and we were out. When I tell you, we're in the middle of nowhere. We're like 5 kilometers from the Czechoslovakian border, right? We are like on the edge of town. And the whole country, we are just down in this, way out in the country, farmland everywhere. And, we're in this one little town that has a little bit of industry, and this other one, a little bit of tourism. This other one's got a little bit of industry going on. And we're going back and forth between the Warwick place and our hotel, right? We have a hotel that's in another town, but a lot of people have cars, they got rentals, and we're just, okay, then we're going back to the hotel. I might go back to the hotel. Okay, you're coming back to the facility, come back to the facility. Everybody's on like WhatsApp or whatever, and trying to coordinate everything. And so I was at the hotel and I was waiting to get a ride back to the facility. And so I was going to meet people downstairs and out front. I got down off the elevator and I walk out, and there's a dude in the lobby. He's got a guitar and a bunch of gear, and he sort of smiles. He goes, "Hi." And I go, "Hi." And I walk out, and I'm out front. And then Sean, what's his name? Sean Daniels.
Okay.
And you just said his name right. Mike. The British guy, Mike Bradley. Mike Bradley, thank you. They're out there with me, and we're kind of goofing around. We're sort of like goofing out in the front and just having a time. And that guy who had said hi to me sort of makes his way out to the front of the hotel. And he's sort of watching us for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And then he sort of strolls over. He goes, "Steve?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I just want to say, I'm a big fan of your videos." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Thanks, man. Thanks. You going back over to the facility right now?" Because, everybody who was at this event was pretty much staying there. He's got a guitar. He's got gear with him. I just figure it's like us and a bunch of old ladies at this resort hotel. If he's not there for an Epsom salt bath, right? He's pretty much there for this event that I'm going to. And he goes, "No." I go, What do you mean?" He goes, "I am from Berlin. I am in town for a show." And I was like, and you can hear Sean Daniels go, "Dude, you just got recognized in Germany." And I was like, "What?" Mike Bradley going, you win. You win.
That's like the ultimate music store mole rat type brag, right? I'm huge in Germany.
The power of the internet, man.
Right?
You know, it's like, here I am. I got this little channel. And this guy, and I go, you mean you just know me from YouTube? He goes, yeah. I go, what are the chances? He goes, I know. He goes, I see you get off the elevator, and I am saying, what am I seeing right now?
Right?
Because I can't believe what I am seeing. And I'm like, yeah, my God, I guess, yeah, a little weird. It was the same with, who was that? In the Blues. In the Blues came to Boston for like 20 hours. He was here like less than a day. And I took him out to the Guitar Center in Natick. And these couple of kids came up to him. They're like, are you Shane from In the Blues? He goes, yeah. And they're like, I know, right? It's kind of bizarre.
Oh, Grumpy Mike. Cheers, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, it is. It is weird that. Well, I'm just thinking. Yeah, a couple of like, especially here with the Cosmo event, it's Sweetwater's Gear Fest, but because we're Canada, a tenth the size. So one tent, whatever stuff that Cosmo carries, which is a lot of stuff. But like the first year, I got to meet Robert Keeley, and. Right. Oh, got to meet him, and he's like, yeah, try out the stuff. I'm like, okay. So grab a guitar and, start playing. It's got an amp at least. It's not headphone based. And so I start playing, and I'm just kind of listening to it, check it out. And then someone's turning the knobs. And I assume it's my buddy, my best friend, guitar player in the band with me. He's dialing in my tone. I'm like, man, this sounds really good. I look over, it's Robert dialing me in. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
He goes, no, keep going. We're working. I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, what do I play? Okay, I'll just keep playing what I'm playing. And then after a while, talk to him some more. And then it lulls a bit, and he goes, hey, I got to go over to the EHX booth. Do you want to watch my booth? Sure. Why not? Sure.
Yeah.
My buddy, we just looked at each other. We're just like, is this the music industry? Like, is this what it seems like that's what it is in the videos, but no, it can't be. And then you show up and you're, yeah, these guys are pretty cool. They're just guys.
Yeah, he was at the first GitCon and super cool. He was really super nice, and you could do a video with him, and he'd sit in there and tweak the knobs and go through everything. He's good. And then I was talking to him again. I think it was me and probably Robert Baker, when we were down at the Dallas show, the Dallas International Guitar Festival, and we ran into Robert Keeley, and he remembered us from GitCon. Right. He was like, oh, hey, he's super nice. Just so
that guy, his memory, Steve, met him there at, I see him at the Cosmo event the first year, then saw him at Winter NAMM, saw him in Nashville, but only said hello, literally, right. 10 seconds tops. And then the last NAMM, I remember walked by, I saw he was busy all the time, and literally just did one of those, hi, how are you, without even talking. I'm at the airport on Tuesday, ironically enough, and all of a sudden I randomly get a Facebook message from him going, so what'd you think of my Echoes? Because he saw me playing it, and we never talked. And I'm like, dude, you even remember me? First of all, I'm like, yeah, well, I suppose, I'm the guy with hair down to his ass. And
yeah, right.
I get it.
Somewhat memorable, but that's everyone at those shows.
Well, yeah, exactly. Hey, there's Lawrence, LPD Pedals, manufacturer of fine pedals and the Tone Toque. Thank you very much. And I saw Gary jumped in here, and Mars Man. We got a whole bunch of people. Christian. Awesome.
I think Metalhead
solo music. Folks, if you want to buy some cool gear, links down below to Flipside and 10 Solo. Just saying. You need some Volas. Both those links will get you a Vola. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I was browsing for Volas last night or anything. I wonder why, Steve. I wonder why.
I tell you, man, I'm loving my ROA. The SFB is I tell you, it's a great guitar. I was using it last night to play a couple of Hendrix tunes and get the single coil going, and then I was doing a couple of little ACDC things, and just switch over to the humbucker and you're fine. I really like that guitar a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a great resonance to it, and those necks, the roasted maple necks, are they're like butter.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, yes, that demo with the music, like the production value of that Vola demo, I was just like crying and laughing and crying because I'm laughing and laughing because I'm crying. Yeah.
I had two different sad tracks.
Oh, that was like on par with the closing theme of the Incredible Hulk TV show.
Yeah. So I went with the sad piano. The other one was more like sad, like almost like a sad big band, right? Where it's like a muted trumpet, but that was a little too hokey. I thought the sad piano was the better choice.
Classic.
It's like Sassy Cat's out of a cat nap.
Hey, Sassy Cat. And Nick KB says just came back from his honeymoon where his wife bought him a Jazz Master as a present, which was awesome.
Yeah. There you go. I
wanted to troll you a couple weeks ago, Steve. I was like, Jazz Master, you need to get it just out of spite,
I'll get a Jazz Master, I will only play tapping riffs.
Yep.
And jazz chords. That's it.
Well, and that'll probably be the first time jazz chords are played on a Jazz Master.
I know, right? The most anomalous named, almost ironic.
Yeah. Thank you, Sandra, for posting all those links. Appreciate it. Nice. We got 114 people watching. Probably go for another half hour or so here, folks. So get those questions on in here. As cool as the questions are, they're just spurring like memories, which is nice. It's just, oh yeah, I remember. Like when I got doing in the chat earlier, like you want to talk, slightly starstruck moment. After meeting Dylan and Ike, that was unto itself. They're like, let's go grab pints. I'm like, all right, of course, I'm down. So we're walking down to one of the hotels on the NAM campus, if you will. And I see Glenn Hughes just sitting on a park bench waiting to be picked up. And I'm like, one of those. I'm like, Dylan, here, take my phone, grab a photo. He's like, really? I'm like, really? It's Glenn Hughes,
Yeah.
And afterwards, Dylan said to me, because I believe it was Dylan's first name, and he's like, I was pretty nervous just taking that photo. You got a couple blurry ones on there. I'm like, I get it, dude. Because the funny part is that was by Saturday, and like Thursday, I'm like, dude, I was the same thing on Thursday, just shaking away. And then Ike was just busting my balls because he's like, do you have to post 100 selfies a day, Ben? I'm like, yes, I do. It's my first name.
Yeah, my wife and I have a very regrettable moment. She worked as a reporter for a small newspaper. And the newspaper was up on the North Shore of Boston around the Walden Woods area. So she got backstage passes and press passes for the Walden Woods concert, which was held at Gillette Stadium. Wasn't built yet at the time. It was Foxborough Stadium, Sullivan Stadium, but really Foxborough Stadium. They renamed it. And we get there, the lineup is Elton John, Sting, Aerosmith, Melissa Etheridge, and of course it's all put together by Don Henley, who's pretty much the headliner. And he brought in a special surprise, which was Jimmy Buffett.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
That was
just to round out the evening.
Just to round out the evening.
Yeah. Nice.
And so we get to the stadium, and we have special parking passes.
Ooh.
They get us up into a special private lot. So they pull us in, and we go through security, and we get stopped like 3 times as we go through. We're getting like closer into the inner circle, you know, and we finally get the okay from like the last checkpoint. Okay, you have the right correct passes. You go up to the top and park anywhere you want. Of course, so it's ballistic everywhere, right? Because it's this massive all-day concert. But this lot's like half full. Like plenty of parking, like nothing. Like waltz in, park anywhere you want.
Half the people won't even show up till Henley goes on anyway.
Well, no, this was the private lot. This was for like,
okay,
this is for like people who had a special lot pass. It's like you couldn't. Right. This is not for the public. When we came out, it was just as empty. Right, we were there. We showed up kind of late, so we get there. And we park, and we're walking in, and this is the regret. 2 regrets, really. First regret, we're walking in, and I nudge my wife, and I go, "You see that right there?" She goes, "Yeah." I go, "That is David Bowie." And she goes, "No, it isn't. He's not on the bill." I go, "I don't care that he's not on the bill." That is David Bowie. And she goes, "Oh my God, it is David Bowie." And he's all smiling. He's kind of short. And he's there with 2 other people, and he's talking to them. She's like, "What do we do? What do we do?" I go, "I don't know. We don't do anything. We keep walking, and we're walking in. We're going to this thing." Now, she was there as a reporter, and I was there as her photographer. We could have approached him and just said, "We're from the newspaper. Can we get a quick quote and a photo," you know, and gone up to him. He had no security because he's in a completely secure area, right? You had to get through like a mountain of guards to get up into this parking lot. That was regret number 1. Regret number 2 is we get in there, and they have it's sort of like this backstage area. It's pretty open. There's a lot of people milling around, and they have a tent set up, a press tent, like along the back edge. And the door to get into the press tent faces sort of like this backstage area that's concrete and, you know, or asphalt or whatever. And there's all these things set up, and there's sections where you can't go, right? We're only allowed in like the main backstage section, right? We have outer circle passes, not inner circle. So we can't get in. So we're waiting to go into the press area. And I'm sort of standing out there, and I'm up against the fence. So there's like a chain link fence that sort of comes here and takes a corner. And then at the end of the chain link fence is the entranceway to this big tent that goes along. But they've got like a sort of a fence that comes out pretty much at the end of the tent and sort of works its way up and then goes. So I'm standing at that fence. I'm sort of leaning against the fence. It was hot. It was the summertime. I'm sort of leaning against the fence and waiting. And I look next to me. I mean, like literally to my shoulder, standing there was Sting. And he's like, and he looks at me and I look at him. We make eye contact. He goes, "How's it going?" I go, "It's going pretty good." He goes, "Great." and I was like, "Damn, this is quite an event." And we go in the place, and it's kind of hot in the tent. And, you know, the photographers all got pushed to the back. So I got pushed. My wife was I found a seat up front. I got pushed to the back. And, you know, we're in there for a while. And it was, you know, basically Don Henley, Elton John, Melissa Etheridge, Sting. And that was it. I don't think anyone else came out. And none of the other performers. I don't think anyone from Aerosmith. I don't think Steven Tyler came out. And they're all talking about Walden Woods and, you know, and all that stuff. And then it's sort of broken up. And again, this is a tent about the size of this room right here, maybe 30 feet long by 15 feet wide, something like that, you know, and filled with chairs. And they're just sitting down at the end of it on like a little bit of a dais, right? You know, a little table, little, you know, like a handful of chairs. And, you know, they're taking questions from the press and everything. It was pretty cool, but I regret not taking, I mean, I had a camera in my goddamn hand. I should have taken a picture of Sting. Oh, I'm a photographer. Let me get a quick pic. Yeah. Nothing. I'm like, hey, bro.
See you, Cushman. I know Cushman said he has to head out because he apparently dropped his bowl and it broke. So he's got to grab another one. Get it?
Oh.
Totally understand. Good luck at 9 p.m. on a Sunday night, but you know, God love you if you can find one.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking to myself, for that lineup, chances are Pete Thorne would have been at that show playing.
You know, he might have been there.
Because he spent time playing with both Melissa and Don Henley at different points. And I figured with both of them on the bill, chances are he's playing with one of them.
Well, I'm trying to think. When was the Walden Woods concert? And I want to say...
See, Ike?
See you, Flip. 1994, I want to say. So I don't know if he's touring with Henley at that point, 94.
No, actually, 94, he might have still been with 40-Foot Echo.
I'm pretty sure it was 1994 because I'm trying to think of she would have to be working.
Where's that? Ma'am, it says 93.
Oh, really? Was it 93? Wow.
Yeah. I think, that was definitely then. Yeah.
Wow.
See, a lot of people mentioning a lot of celebrities that are short. They are. Quite a few. Yeah. Paul Gilbert is not.
Sting was not.
No.
Bowie was. Elton was. Melissa Etheridge was taller than Elton.
Hey, Calvin, and we got Pete in Canada, a local boy here. Actually, Pete is literally maybe 3/4 of a mile due east of me. Nice to see the local guys in here. Got to get together with Pete soon. There's a music union height requirement. Rock stars are 5'5" or less, according to LPD Pedals. Hey, there's Nerd Halen. Nice. What's up, Doc?
Hello?
Dog Puss says Dio was 2 feet tall.
Yeah, Dio was pretty short. So was Prince.
Yep. Michael Anthony was short.
Michael Anthony was short.
Yeah. I saw him at NAMM 2019. I was hanging out with Caleb from Nerd Halen. We went to see his interview there, kind of in the NAMM lobby. And we're hanging out with Johnny Bean. And Johnny looks at me and he's like, do you want to sit front row? I'm like, you're Johnny Bean. This is Van Halen related. Aren't you supposed to? Like, isn't that a rule? So sitting there with him and Caleb. And I was like, really? Is this what NAMM's all about? You hang out with Johnny Bean at a Van Halen thing, front row? And,
Yeah, Johnny's got the connections. He's the Van Halen dude.
He is. Hey, Boner Jams. I got to wear the Boner Jams shirt tomorrow night on tomorrow night's show. Darth Vapor, it's your appearance, Darth Boner. Happy Sunday to all the handsome men and women in the chat. See everyone this week. Nice. Possibly one of the best names in YouTube, Boner Jams. That's right, Kelvin. Good times, yeah. Do short rock stars look better with gear or something? That's a good question, Robot Master Switch. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Well, you can almost tell, right? Because the guitars look really big.
Right. Like the first time you pick up a Les Paul after seeing Randy Rhoads playing one, and I was like, really? This?
Or you see Angus Young, and you're like,
With,
wow, that SG is enormous.
Yeah, it looks like a 335.
Yeah.
Jimmy Page is short. Yeah.
Yeah. I did an interview with Leland Sklar. I did a really long, about an hour of interview with Lee Sklar at NAMM. Might have been NAMM 18. And we had audio problems like nonstop. And I was using lav mics. I need those close-up mics. I was using the lav mic, and my God, it was just even we were in a booth, like inside like a studio area, and it was still just ungodly with the noise outside. It was just hard, and he's soft-spoken.
Right.
So it was a little hard to make it out, and then I was trying to compress it and everything. The noise was, and I was like, you know what? No. I don't think it ever came out.
Frampton? I'd like to meet Peter Frampton. He'd be a cool cat.
I saw Frampton playing lead guitar for Bowie.
Nice.
Yeah, on the Spiders from Mars tour.
That was interesting. It was funny because I started watching some Peter Frampton interviews. I think what really did a dive back in was when they did his rig rundown, because it was the first one that was like an hour and a half long, and then you understand why when you watch it. And he's such a gear nerd, like all of us. Yeah. And he came across so humble. And I was like, wow, I would have figured a bit more of an ego from his generation, what have you. But then I saw an interview not too long ago, and he was saying, like, he couldn't get paid to show up anywhere type thing. And then Bowie's just like, no, I want to take you on tour. And he's like, that single-handedly just resurrected his career.
Yeah. He was famously, Bowie was paying the musicians $500 a gig, and he was paying Frampton $1,000 a show. And they were doing 2 or 3 shows a week.
Sure.
It was an enormous stage. It was a stadium show.
Hey, Deja Blue. Cool Tunes Made Easy. Judy H. Listening from New Hampshire. Nice. Surf B. Robin Trower's good interview. Yeah, very polite. I agree. It's really amazing how many people are. Like, unless you can tell, unless you catch them on a bad day. Like,
yeah.
That's where the music industry and I would say the acting industry is vastly different.
Yeah. No, it's it's a different breed of people, though. I think.
Nice. Calvin says here, met Paul Gilbert in Edmonton in 1990 at a local bar. Super nice because no one knew who he was. No one knew who he was. He was surprised someone in Canada knew what Racer X was. Also met Billy Sheehan.
Yeah, I've met Billy Sheehan a few times. I've talked with him a few times. You'd see him in the hall at the NAMM show.
Sure. Exactly, Pete. At the end of the day, Rockstar aside, we're all just gear nerds. It's true. Like, you can be at a booth at NAMM and kind of get nudged out of the way because someone wants to take a look at a piece of gear closer, and then all of a sudden you realize it's some rock star, and they just want to look at it the same as you do.
Yeah. Met Billy Sheen on a dive called. Yeah. What was it? Narcissus. Yeah. And that was part of a trio, right? There was Narcissus, or Narcissus, Celebration, and one more. It's a trio.
Oh, Laz.
Lipstick, Celebration, and was that the three? They're all under the same management group.
Okay.
And I saw Billy Sheehan play Celebration because they had a metal night. Wednesday night was metal night. And I saw him with Talus there. And I got there. I was the first one in the door. I was the first one in line. And we went right in front of his rig. Ran right down and got right in front of Billy's rig. On the left side of the stage. And it was quite a show. It was really good.
Laz here says, okay, just have to make this clear. Pixie Licks was too cool of a name even for YouTube. It was.
YouTube did not like it.
No. Buddy Pete was asking, do you still have any of your Chibsons?
I got them all except for two. The Amber Les Paul Standard I gave to Bobby, and the Supreme I gave to my brother-in-law. Nice. Which I saw. I was over at my father-in-law's place, and we were downstairs. I was helping him hook up the cable box, and he had it on the stand. I was like, "Oh my god, I forgot how that thing looks pretty good." He goes, "Does it?" I'm like, "That thing looks pretty damn good." You know, if you didn't know, I mean, the shape is way off. And anybody who knows anything could pick it up and say, "Oh, there's something off about this." But on across the room on a stand, looked pretty damn good.
All right, Martin, have a good night, buddy. Yeah, it's a late night in Austria. Wow, yeah, very late night. Yeah. And Pete says he bought one after watching your video. Funny enough, one of my good buddies at the time bought a couple after watching your video, Steve, and he's then, because you can't sell them, you got to move them on to somebody. And now, as a result, I have a double neck, and I do have a custom behind me here. And he got lucky on those two. He got another one that he wasn't so lucky on, which the bridge was literally drilled a 1/4 inch off, and there's nothing you can do about that. But
yeah, the gem I have, like the bridge is completely. You can barely fit a sheet. You could drive a Mack truck through one side of the bridge, and you can barely get a piece of paper through the other side of the bridge. It's way off from the route, and the whole thing is just, oh God, just hot garbage.
Ah, that's right. Bent Tom, thank you, buddy. He says, holy shit, this Dutch sounds killer. Shots, shots, shots. What Tom is talking about here is a new limited run pedal coming out from LPD Pedals, where Tom got an early release, and it is of a limited run version of the Lost Dutchman that Lawrence put out in 2019, which, such a good pedal. Nice low to medium gain, 2-channel deal, and Lawrence has readjusted a bit, tweaked it a bit, and he's re-releasing it in 2021. I believe in a limited run. Lawrence can correct us because he's in the chat. He's got a bunch of stuff coming out this year. Holy crap. Like, he's sending me, like we were talking earlier, Steve, you get pictures sent. I'm like, what the hell is this? And he's like, oh, I'm tying on this. I'm like, yeah, but we talked about 3 other designs you're working on last week. Oh, yeah, but
keep busy.
Oh, yeah. His stuff, I'm a firm believer he's the next boutique pedal company that's going to be the next Keeley, GHS, what have on that level, because especially his 87 is showing up on so many boards now.
Right.
RJ loves his, and it's like, sure, you can get a Marshall in a box, but wouldn't you rather have a Jose modded Marshall in a box?
Yeah, right. Plus, there's been a big push, I would say, in the last 20 years, especially the last 15, and really especially the last 10, where you get less of the sound out of the amp, more of the sound out of the pedal boards. So people are just buying like really nice, clean amps, ones that really kick pedals well, and just sound amazing. And they do all their tone really through the pedal board.
Yep.
Scott Henderson was a big proponent of that like 10 years ago. He's like, now I just buy a completely clean board, amp, a little combo amp that's as clean can be. Then everything else is just, he goes, that's my amplifier. He goes, and I get all my tone out of my pedal board. He goes, and it's really been a formula for me.
I usually have 3 different overdrives plus a boost in front of all those to make them, so it's an A/B to saturate them a bit more. And that's what I would do. Playing 4 sets of covers, I want to have half a dozen different tones to cover. And I want to say goodnight and love you too, Pete. Actually, Pete, right before you run out, Facebook memory came up tonight. We did a gig together at the Gravity Lounge in Trenton, Ontario, I believe 5 years ago today. His band opened for my band.
Wow.
Yeah. It was good times. I played through a full stack that night. Good times.
Wow.
Yeah, because why not, right?
Sure.
Another guy's got a 412 cab. I'm like, yeah, you could just leave that on the stage. He's like, really? I'm like, oh, yeah. He just asked, did you take your shirt off? Believe I did, buddy. Believe I did. So there we go. Actually, I believe there's a blurry photo. Let me just quickly see here. I couldn't believe how low I wore my guitar at the time. Let's see, I don't know if this will come out or not.
Wow. It's almost below the knee.
Well, I was playing in drop C, so does it really matter, Steve?
No.
Like I'm playing through a full stack on the neck pickup too, just heavy and very Godsmack. And there we are. Yeah. Pete may have taken that photo. I don't know. I just remember he and I were hanging out in the parking lot earlier in the evening, and all of a sudden I went inside. I'm like, one band's coming off stage. I'm like, oh, for the love of God, please tell me I'm not up next. And he's like, no, dude, we're up first. I'm like, good, go long. He's like, why? I'm like, just need to mellow out for a while. Just need to mellow out. Hey, Randy Crooks. Good to see you in here. Nice. All right, a few last questions here, folks, and we'll probably wrap things up. And then we look forward to, I guess, Monday. I don't know. Then I guess we make videos, we put them out, Steve, and then go live on the weekend.
All the days are blurring into one at this point.
Right. Yeah, exactly, Pete. Ganja in your truck. Quite awesome.
93.8. But probably have to go like 98. Like the surface versus the inside.
Dang.
Blow that thing up my nose.
Vincent, thank you very much. No comment, just a donation. Thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate it. All right. Well, at this point, Steve, anything to promote? Although I'm not sure if anyone isn't already in the chat that isn't already subbed to you. Why should people check out your channel, Steve? Because you get asked that every day, I'm sure, at the shop, at the supermarkets, the laundromats, and the hardware store, even.
That's a great question, Ben.
Thank you.
They should sub to my channel because my channel is the best channel on YouTube.
That's it right there. Dang, Jasco. Good to see you, brother.
Oh, look at that.
Dang. Got to finally see a live show. Yeah, good to see brother Jasco. I was rocking the Jasco Plumbing Supply shirt yesterday. I've always been a fan of that whole, that grunge alt rock thing of the 90s. Like you would wear some random mom and pop business on a t-shirt.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, Jasco Plumbing Supply. And I find out they're in the Bronx, New York. I'm like, dude, do you have any merch? He goes, merch? Like workwear? Anything? I'm like, yeah. So he sends me t-shirts and I'm like, I love it. And I've worn it on stage. I've worn it in videos. People are like, what the hell's Jasco Plumbing Supply? I'm like, I got a guy. You know, it's a bit of a commute, but I got a guy.
And someone is reminding me, my channel occasionally has cats. That's a big plus.
Yep.
Someone asked me what my favorite Canadian bands. I would say probably, Rush, Triumph. Those are the first two that come to mind. Who am I missing?
Everybody.
I know.
Let me think. What would be house? If we start in the 60s, you got the Guess Who.
Okay, right.
Neil Young.
No, right. Neil Young is Canadian. That's true. Neil Young.
Yeah. Joni Mitchell.
Right, Joni Mitchell.
Then we get in the 70s, you're getting into your April Wines, your Rushes.
North Ontario, right?
Yep. Trooper, Canadian band. Honeymoon Suite in the 80s.
All right, Rainbow. But the first two that came to mind, of course, are Rush. They're probably the biggest band. And then Triumph.
Yeah.
Fight the Good Fight.
The one album I got to record was at Triumph Studio.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's just a guy, a buddy of mine's like, hey, we got to record a demo. Where do you want to record it? I'm like, Metalworks. He's like, okay.
Right.
Why? I'm like, it's the best. He's like, okay. Any studio? I'm like, yeah, Studio A. I want the original with the Neve console, the whole. And he's like, okay. And they got a deal for weekends at a fraction of the regular rate. And we just practiced our ass off and we knocked out 8 tracks in 2 days.
Nice.
Just bing, 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 bing. Just go for it. And
oh yeah, Phil X, another Canadian.
Phil X, good Canadian boy.
Yeah. So I was asking baked beans or Boston cream, like a Boston cream pie. So I would definitely, without a doubt, say the Boston cream pie, and here's why. The baked bean thing isn't really a big thing around here. It really isn't. They have like the bean pot and hockey tourney, and there's a couple of things, but it's not really sort of a thing. Boston cream pie kind of is a thing,
right?
And Boston cream pie is like just a famous story. First of all, it's not a pie; it's a cake. Where some people from out of town came into, I want to say it was the Omni Parker Hotel, and they wanted a pie. And of course, they didn't have a pie and they couldn't make one, but they had some cake. And so they took the cake and they whipped up some custard and a little chocolate on the top. And they made Boston cream pie, which is just basically a cake with a bunch of crap on it. And it's kind of funny because it's such a Boston story. Yeah, here's your pie right here. Yeah. Yeah, that's not a pie. Sure it is. Sure it is. Sure it is. Pie. Sure. It's got a filling. Got a topping. Sure, it's a pie.
Some random locals like, yeah, it is. What do you? Are you calling him a liar?
So it was just a very Boston story. It's actually true. That really is true. The bean thing, I don't know where that came from.
I would think it's got to like go back to essentially colonial time. Like that's what was available to eat or something.
Well, there was there was a huge bean industry, but just, this food industry is all over the place. I don't know that Boston was very famously, there was a molasses tank that exploded in the North End and killed a bunch of people.
Right.
And so I don't know if it came from that, because that's an ingredient in Boston baked beans is molasses, right? It's a part of the cooking process. So I don't know where it came from, to be honest.
You could be stuck with words. You could be stuck with Canadian bacon, which no Canadian eats and isn't bacon.
No, it's ham. It's a ham.
Yeah, it's ham. Once in a while, somebody might get that for camping. Nobody has it at home. BC
Richie said he stayed at the Omni Park a couple of times. That's great. Yeah, I did I did an interview with when I was in college. I interviewed Living Color at the Omni.
Nice.
The Omni Parker, yeah.
Very cool.
That was pretty cool, actually.
Well, definitely, folks. I hope everyone has already subscribed to Steve. I know a few of the moderators have been posting links to Steve's channel in the chat, just in case there's a few that live under rocks and don't know. I've said it once. I'll say it again. My buddy was looking at getting one of these Chibsons, and he came across your video. He says, check this guy out. And I said, all right, because he's like, what do you think of Chibsons? I'm like, I don't know what Chibsons are. So I started, on the YouTubes, because I just use YouTube like Google, and it found all these 4-minute videos, except for one guy apparently went in depth with his 25-minute video, which really there's 10 minutes of talking about the guitar and a lot of talk about Kiss, because they had a new album out apparently right at that time, and it was on your mind because you just free flowed in it. And but by the end of the video, I bonded. I was like, subscribe, and you were my first person I ever subscribed, because I like this dude. He speaks his mind, and if you see half of my demos, you can see where that could happen. And I go off on a tangent or two at times, or what have you, and that's okay. Like your studio tour, we had intermittent cat times, and I was fine with that.
Oh yeah, God, that cat, Jesus.
and after hearing a year, we were discussing off air how you have a community. We how's the flooding situation going in the basement and things. When you gave the studio tour, I was like, yeah, that's my old house that I moved out of a year ago. Right. Like, I get it exactly what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And also, if you don't have cats, you have mice in a house like that.
Oh my God, we would absolutely have mice. There's not a house around here that doesn't have mice unless you have cats. It's not going to happen.
Exactly.
It's like this old New England, these houses are porous. They really are.
Yeah, exactly. Well, definitely, I want to thank you, buddy, for coming on once again. I think this has got to be Hangout number 6 we've done together. I think you've appeared on the channel more than anyone else. It makes sense. I've followed you the longest, I guess. And you tolerate me. And, somebody mentioned, when you were Jackie Gleason, I saw somebody commented, I could be your Norton.
Yeah, there you go. You could be my Ed Norton.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I guess you'd be, so it's, I'm trying to think, Ed Norton was what? Yogi Bear, right? Didn't they steal the voice of Yogi Bear? Was pretty much Ed Norton,
right? Exactly.
Right. And then the other one was was it Fred Flintstone that stole the Jackie Gleason one? I forget which came first. Yeah,
pretty much. There we are.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, buddy, for coming on. I do appreciate it.
Anytime.
And check out Steve every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern on his channel. Always a good time. Thanks, everybody that tuned in tonight. Thank everybody, the moderators. Forgot to thank the mods on the last live stream. Thanks to the mods. Thanks, everybody that donated, channel members. We'll be back tomorrow with Canucks with Guitars with co-host Ben Tom. Not sure. Maybe we'll do a recap of tonight. That's entertainment. We'll just do a recap or even a reaction to ourselves. Hey, is that Inception at that point? Pretty much. Anyways, folks, thanks for tuning in. As always, hold those doors open. Let that guy in ahead of you in traffic. Do good things, and good things will happen to you because karma is real. Be good to each other. Cheers and rock on.